I hadn't been on a date in 2 years. Not because I couldn't. I just didn't. After my last relationship fell apart, I told myself I needed space. I did the whole time alone thing. Therapy, books, walks that were supposed to be grounding. I got better at making eggs, learned to sleep on the left side of the bed again, figured out how to sit with myself. It was fine, mostly. But there's a difference between being alone and being used to it. And lately, I wasn't sure which one I was anymore. It was a Wednesday night. My apartment was silent except for the slow hiss of the radiator and the occasional low groan from the building settling. I was sitting at my desk, supposedly reviewing a spreadsheet for work, but mostly just clicking between tabs and avoiding the obvious. The whiskey beside me was halfway gone. Then my phone lit up. Your friend Caleb just joined Hinge. Find your person. I stared at it longer than I should have. I hadn't even thought about dating apps since the last time I deleted them, which was somewhere between an oversauced pasta date and an anxiety spiral in a Trader Joe's parking lot. Still, I picked up the phone, swiped away the notification, but my finger hovered. Just for a second. 2 years. That's how long it had been since someone sat across from me and asked, "So what do you do?" without already knowing the answer. I missed that. The discovery part. The first laughs. The slow reveal. Not enough to be desperate, but enough to feel it in my chest some nights. I opened the App Store, typed Hinge. The logo came up like a smug little dare. Installation. The download bar filled faster than I expected, like my phone wanted this more than I did. When it finished, I just looked at the icon, sat there with it glowing up at me, right between Spotify and Notes, like it belonged, like I hadn't spent months deleting things that made me feel too exposed. I leaned back in my chair. The radiator clicked once, then went quiet again. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe everyone was just out there fumbling through the same awkward mess, hoping someone else was worth the weirdness. I tapped the app. Let's begin. It didn't take long to remember why I deleted the apps the first time. The first date was a woman named Dana, worked in corporate recruiting. Her profile said she loved hiking, though when I asked her favorite trail, she admitted she just liked the idea of hiking. We talked over beers in a bar, that was all too loud. Until it became clear we had exactly one thing in common. We both hated the bar. She invited me back to her place anyway. I went. It was fine. Polite, mechanical. I left before the sun came up and never heard from her again. Date 2 was a graphic designer who spoke in TikTok quotes and described every ex as crazy. She ordered for me at dinner without asking. Date 3 was decent. Civil engineer, funny, smarter than me, which I liked. We ended up back at my place, made out a little. Then she paused and asked if I believed in horoscopes. I said no. She got dressed, called an Uber, and told me our signs were incompatible. 4, 5, 6 were blurry. Some drinks, some laughs, some half-finished stories. A couple of overnights. Each one faded faster than the last. No tension, no curiosity. Just 2 people trying to fill an empty hour. The 7th was a kindergarten teacher. Kind eyes, bright smile. We had dinner at a Vietnamese place and talked about the weirdest things kids say. I thought it went well. She ghosted me before dessert. After that, I stopped counting. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even disappointed. Just tired. There was a rhythm to it all. Swipe, match, message, meet, drink, fade. It felt like going through the motions of something sacred that everyone had quietly stopped believing in. Connection had become a game, a numbers thing, and I was bad at math. I started noticing my habits changing. I'd open the app when I wasn't even looking for anything, just thumb scrolling out of boredom, like a slot machine for validation. Dopamine on demand. And with each new match, I felt less and less like a person, more like a product. Eventually, I stopped messaging first. Then I stopped replying at all. What was the point? At some point, the app wasn't about meeting someone anymore. It was just a mirror. And I was tired of looking at myself. Back in my apartment, I sat on the edge of my bed with the phone in my hand, and nothing left to say to it. The room was dark except for the TV glow playing a rerun of something I wasn't watching. I'd left it on for noise like I always did now. My reflection stared back at me from the blank screen of the phone. Tired eyes. Day-old stubble. The look of someone who's been half awake for weeks without realizing it. I opened the app one last time. There were 5 new matches. All pretty. All curated. I couldn't remember swiping on most of them. One of them had the same quote I'd seen 3 times already. Not looking for hookups, unless you're cute. Another had 6 nearly identical selfies in a car. I scrolled. My thumb moved, but I wasn't even registering the faces anymore. Just motion. This was supposed to help. Make things easier. Connection on demand. Loneliness with a filter and a cute bio. And yet, the more people I met, the less I felt like I existed outside the screen. Loneliness used to be a feeling. Now it was a product. I set the phone down on the nightstand and stood. Walked to the kitchen. Poured myself the last inch of bourbon from the bottle I'd been nursing all week. No ice. Just something warm to end the night. The phone buzzed again on the table. New like. I ignored it. I didn't feel rejected, or angry, or sad. I just felt finished. I sat back down on the edge of the bed and picked up the phone. Not to keep swiping, just to delete the app. One final purge. I navigated to settings, hovered over delete account. It even had a little broken heart icon next to it. I smirked. Nice touch. But right before I hit it, something caught my eye. A new match. Brooke. That's all it said. First name, no emojis, no icebreakers. I almost ignored it. But I tapped. Her photos were quiet. Just her, mostly. A couple of shots in natural light. Hair tied back, minimal makeup. One where she was sitting in a cafe, holding a coffee mug with both hands, mid-laugh. Not a performative laugh. Just that half-smile people do when they think they're not being watched. No group photos, no mirror selfies, no filters smoothing her face into something featureless. She looked directly at the camera in every photo, like she saw it, like she saw me. Her bio was short of freelance photographer, new to the city, lover of old horror movies and strong coffee. That was it. No just ask, no must-love dogs, no disclaimers. It felt unpolished, in a good way, like she didn't care if you swiped right or not. I hesitated. Not out of doubt, just something else. I couldn't name it. Then my thumb moved. Swipe. Instant match. The screen blinked. Then, a message. Brooke. Strong coffee is a non-negotiable, just FYI. I stared at the words for a second. It was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It felt normal. Like a real person, not a billboard. I typed back before I could overthink it. Agreed. Anything weaker than jet fuel is a red flag. I hit send. No games, no strategy, no wondering what came next. Just a start. We messaged for over an hour. Nothing heavy. Nothing weird. Just easy. She had a dry wit that came out sideways. Never trying too hard, never fishing for laughs. She didn't send 3 texts at once or wait 2 hours between replies. She didn't ask generic questions like, "What do you do for fun?" Instead, she asked, "If you could only watch one horror movie for the rest of your life, and it couldn't be ironic, what would it be?" I told her I respected the no irony clause and admitted it was probably the thing. She wrote back, "Solid. Practical effects are hot." I laughed. Out loud. Sitting there in my bedroom, phone glowing in my hand, I actually laughed. It startled me. I don't remember the last time that happened from a dating app. Maybe ever. I asked where she was from. She said she'd just moved to the city 2 months ago. Didn't say why. I didn't push. Eventually, I realized how late it had gotten. My bourbon glass was empty. The TV had long since gone black. She said she had an early shoot the next morning but wanted to keep talking. So did I. We made a loose plan to meet for coffee later that week. Something low-key. No pressure. When I finally set the phone down, the room felt different. Lighter. Not loud, not electric, just quiet in a way that didn't feel lonely. I turned off the lamp, climbed into bed. And for the first time in months, I didn't overthink anything. I got there early. Not because I was eager. Okay, maybe a little. But mostly because I didn't want to deal with the stress of trying to find her in a crowd, squinting around like an idiot while pretending not to. I ordered a black coffee, sat in the corner, and tried not to look like I was waiting. The place was tucked into a narrow street in the arts district, half cafe, half exposed brick and succulents. The kind of spot where people pretend to work on their screenplays but mostly scroll their phones between sips. It had good lighting, though. Natural. Warm. I figured she'd like that. I checked my phone. No messages. I looked out the window. Tried to do that casual lean-back sip thing people do in rom-coms. Failed. Ended up checking my reflection in the spoon instead, which only made me hate my own face. I wiped something off my cheek that wasn't there. Considered leaving. Then I saw her. Brooke walked in without any of the fanfare I've come to expect from dates. No exaggerated smile. No oversized tote bag full of personality. Just jeans, a slightly oversized black sweater, sneakers, and hair pulled into a loose tie that probably took 30 seconds but still made her look like someone with secrets. She spotted me immediately. And just like that, I was no longer spiraling. She smiled. Not the Instagram kind. Not the practiced tilt of the head, eyes slightly squinted for charm kind. Just a small, real one. Almost reflexive. Like she was happy to see me and didn't need to prove it. I stood as she approached. Awkwardly. Too fast. My knee bumped the table and sloshed my coffee. "Scott?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Sorry. That's my cue to stop trying to look smooth." She laughed, easy and warm. "I like that you're early," she said. "I always wonder if I'm going to be the first one awkwardly standing alone like a weirdo." "Well," I said, "lucky for you, that's usually my job." We smiled at each other like two people who weren't trying that hard to impress anyone, and I felt something unclench in my chest. She looked like her pictures. Actually, she looked better. Not in a filtered or enhanced way. Just more present. Some people shrink when you meet them in person. She didn't. She had gravity, but not the kind that pulled attention. More like she quietly bent the space around her. She ordered a cappuccino and took the seat across from me. No phone, no fidgeting. Just leaned back slightly and looked at me like she was actually curious. And just like that, I forgot every canned conversation starter I'd rehearsed on the walk over. We took our drinks to a small table by the window, half lit by soft winter sun, the kind that makes everyone look a little better without trying. She sat across from me, one leg tucked beneath her like she lived there, even though it was our first time meeting. "So," she said, "what's the worst date you've ever been on?" Right out of the gate. No small talk, no job title dance, just straight into the mess. I liked that. "Oh, easy," I said. "A woman told me she only eats beige food. Like, exclusively." She blinked. "Beige?" "Yeah. Chicken nuggets, white bread, instant mashed potatoes. Nothing green. Nothing with texture." I asked her why, and she said it was a trust thing. Like, colors are suspicious. Brooke grinned and took a sip of her cappuccino. "That's somehow both the weirdest and most relatable thing I've ever heard." "What about you?" She tilted her head. Guy who called me by his ex's name mid-sentence. Didn't even catch it. I corrected him and he just said, "Oh, right." Like I was the one being unreasonable. I choked on my coffee. No recovery from that. None, she said. He paid though. So, win? We swapped a few more stories. Some funny, some just plain tragic. There was no performative energy to it. Just two people quietly cataloging all the ways things go wrong before they go right. I learned she was a freelance photographer, mostly working gigs for indie brands and small businesses. Product shoots pay the bills, she said, but I like personal stuff more. Candid moments, places people forget to notice. I asked if she meant landscapes or people. She smiled. Both. Mostly the in-between. Shadows in stairwells, empty sidewalks, the quiet parts. There was a kind of rhythm to the way she spoke, unhurried but precise, like she picked her words carefully but didn't get lost in them. Her voice was soft but not airy, confident in the way only quiet people ever are. We didn't talk about politics. We didn't swap dating app horror stats. She didn't ask me about my 5-year plan or what I was looking for. It was the first date I'd had in months that didn't feel like an interview. It felt like something else. Something slower. I caught myself watching her laugh at one point. Not the sound of it, just the way her mouth moved slightly before the rest of her face caught up. She noticed me noticing and arched one eyebrow. What? Nothing, I said. I was just trying to guess what color foods you eat. She laughed, loud enough that 2 people looked over. She didn't care. Sorry, she said. Not beige. I promise. I didn't want the conversation to end. So when we finished our drinks, I said, "Want to walk a bit? There's a weird little bookstore a few blocks down. Smells like mildew and regret. It's great." She looked at me for half a second, then stood. That sounds perfect. The door creaked like it had stage fright. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of paper and dust and something faintly sweet. Maybe incense, maybe mildew. A little bell chimed above us, and no one appeared to greet us. The place was narrow, floor to ceiling with books. Tall shelves formed twisting rows, barely enough space for 2 people to pass without brushing. Light leaked through overhead bulbs that probably hadn't been changed since the 90s. "This place is incredible," Brooke whispered, like we were in church. She peeled away toward a shelf marked occult/paranormal, her fingers brushing along the spines like she knew them personally. I lingered in fiction, half watching her through the shelves. She moved like she'd been here before. Not in this store exactly, but in places like it. Forgotten corners, quiet chaos. The kind of spaces most people rush through, but she studied like a map. I picked up a book titled The Man Who Ate Himself to Death, held it up. She looked through the shelf. Let me guess. Family friendly? Perfect for book club, I said. She smirked and held up one of her own. When the Devil Came to Vermont. The cover was half ripped, the font bright red and unapologetic. Sounds like a feel-good summer read, I said. Oh, I only read the uplifting stuff. We wandered separately for a while, but never more than a few feet apart. Occasionally, we'd pass each other in the tight aisles, shoulder to shoulder. She didn't flinch from contact. I noticed she wasn't really reading anything, just touching the books, like she was waiting for one to choose her. Eventually, she found one. It was a slim paperback, yellowed, cracked, the title worn to near invisibility. She flipped through the pages slowly, then held it up. This one, she said. What is it? She shrugged. Don't know. Doesn't matter. It's already mine. She brought it to the register, which involved ringing a little silver bell. After a long minute, a man shuffled out from the back room. He looked like he'd been preserved in dust and apathy. $1, he said without looking up. She paid in cash. No small talk. No receipt. We walked out into the fading light and I asked, "What made you choose that one?" Brooke looked down at the book in her hands. "I like what scares other people," she said. The sky had gone from pale gray to a deep blue bruise. Streetlights flicked on with a soft buzz, casting long shadows across the sidewalk as we stepped out of the bookstore. Traffic had slowed to its evening lull. No horns, just the occasional hum of tires passing like background noise. A breeze picked up and carried the scent of wood smoke from somewhere. One of those sensory things you couldn't place but felt anyway. Brooke tucked the book under one arm and looked at me. "That was fun," she said. Not politely, not filler. She meant it. "Yeah," I said, and I wasn't trying to be smooth. I just didn't want to ruin the calm we'd found. We started walking in the general direction of the cafe, not saying much. I thought about asking her to grab dinner, or maybe see if she wanted to come over. Something light, something that might have made sense. But she spoke first. "I've got to shoot early tomorrow," she said. "Sunrise thing." "Photographers and their weird hours," I said, smiling. She returned it. "Comes with the job." We stopped at the corner, one of those unspoken endpoints. She looked at me, not for too long, not evasively, just directly, like she was checking something, not judging, just reading. "This was really nice," she said, voice quieter now. "Yeah," I said again, because I still hadn't thought of anything smarter. "It was." She adjusted the book under her arm and gave a small nod. "Text me later?" I nodded. "Definitely." Then she turned and walked down the street, disappearing into the glow of passing headlights and the wash of warm light from old street lamps. She didn't look back, and I didn't need her to. It's strange how fast people can become part of your life without you realizing it. One week we were trading jokes over coffee and cheap horror novels. The next, she was texting me on Sunday mornings asking if I wanted to grab pastries and walk the neighborhood. I said yes every time. It became a rhythm. Tuesdays were hers. So were most Fridays. We cooked dinner together once, but we both agreed we were better at ordering. She liked my couch better than hers. I liked her taste in movies better than mine. She always brought something. Half-melted chocolate, a thrifted VHS tape, weird imported soda. I stocked extra coffee for her without saying anything. None of it was flashy. No big romantic gestures. Just a low hum of comfort that started to fill in the quiet places I didn't realize I still had. We'd talk. About nothing. About everything. She liked silence and didn't treat it like a problem. I liked that. Sometimes we watched movies with her feet under my leg. Sometimes we walked without talking. She'd see something. Light hitting a building just right, a tree cracking through a sidewalk, and snap a photo on instinct. Her eye was always moving even when she was still. I noticed little things. She never slept over, never invited me to. She never brought up her past. No mention of old relationships. No stories that began with, "back when I lived in." That space was locked up tight. It didn't bother me. At least not yet. Everyone has stuff they keep to themselves. I figured she'd tell me when she was ready. Still, there was something under the surface. Not coldness exactly. More like restraint. Like she was holding a rope inside her, keeping something from pulling too far, too fast. I didn't push. I just kept showing up. And for a while, that was enough. The first time I went to Brooke's apartment, I remember thinking it felt like an Airbnb someone had tried to make look lived in. It was on the second floor of an old brick building, not far from a quiet intersection with a corner store and a dry cleaner. The kind of street people only walk down if they live there. Nothing flashy, just still. Her place was sparse, not in a sterile way. It was clean, but it had warmth. The couch was worn in. Her shelves were cluttered with old cameras and books on strange topics: urban folklore, analog film theory, maps of abandoned towns. She had art on the walls, but all of it was her own. Photos. Black and white, matte-framed, empty diners, rusted fences, alleys with no visible end. Places that looked like they were waiting for someone who never showed up. There was a photo of a motel sign with half the letters burned out. I stared at it a little too long. "You like that one?" she asked from the kitchen where she was pouring tea. "I don't know," I said. "It feels like something's about to happen in it, but it never does." She smiled without looking up. "That's kind of the point." The apartment had 2 doors in the hallway, one to the bathroom and one that stayed closed. I noticed it when I went to wash my hands. Not locked, just shut. I asked casually, "Storage?" She hesitated just long enough to notice. "Yeah, mostly junk I haven't unpacked." I didn't ask again. There was a small drawer in her desk with a tiny padlock on it. An old one, brass, worn at the corners. It looked like it had been locked for years. Another thing I didn't bring up. I wasn't trying to snoop. It wasn't that kind of curiosity. It was more like I felt the place watching itself. When we sat on the couch, she curled her legs beneath her, leaned into me lightly, and picked the movie. The Changeling. One of her favorites, apparently. She'd seen it 5 times and still jumped at the same scenes. Halfway through, she reached for my hand. I held it. She didn't let go. She was warm. Real. There. But the whole time, I couldn't stop thinking how little of her was actually visible. Her apartment was like a perfectly composed photo. What you saw was deliberate. And whatever she didn't want me to see, it stayed out of frame. It was a Friday. We ordered Thai food, made fun of a terrible horror movie, and half-finished a bottle of wine that neither of us liked but drank anyway. Brooke had curled up beside me on the couch with her head tucked into that spot between my shoulder and jaw, like she'd been built to fit there. At some point, the credits rolled and we didn't bother to start anything else. We kissed. Soft at first. Familiar. I didn't rush it. I wasn't 17. We moved together like we'd done it 100 times already. Slow, sure, nothing uncertain about the way her hand moved under the hem of my shirt. It felt right. Until it didn't. 1 second, she was pressing into me, breath catching in that way I'd come to know. The next, she went still. Completely still. Like a freeze frame. I pulled back. She was staring at me, but not looking at me. Eyes just slightly off, focused on some invisible midpoint behind my shoulder. "You okay?" I asked. She blinked once, her focus snapping back. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Sorry, I feel a headache coming on." I sat up. "Do you want water? Or—" No, I should go. I've got an early thing tomorrow." She was already pulling her sweater over her head, gathering her bag. No anger, no awkward fumbling, just a clean disengage, like a pilot landing a plane in rough weather. I walked her to the door. She kissed me once, gently. Too gently. "Thanks for tonight," she said. "You sure you're—" "I'm fine," she said, cutting me off with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just tired." She didn't look back when she walked down the hall. I locked the door and stood there for a moment, forehead resting against the wood. The apartment felt colder without her in it. And not in some poetic way, just literally colder. I went back to the couch and sat for a while in the dark, trying to replay what happened and wondering when it started to shift. I thought about texting her. Didn't. Eventually, I made it to bed, but I didn't sleep much. It took me 3 days to bring it up. Not because I was afraid she'd get mad. Brooke didn't have that in her. She didn't do drama. She didn't do cold shoulders or veiled texts or guilt disguised as honesty. But she did avoid things. Cleanly. Quietly. Like someone deleting files from a hard drive. Careful not to leave anything in the trash. So when she came over again, I waited until we were on the couch, post-takeout, watching some indie movie she'd picked because it had good sound design, whatever that meant. She was curled up under a throw blanket, head on my shoulder. I could feel the weight of her, the warmth, but something in her posture was tense, like a string pulled just tight enough to hold a note. I muted the movie. She didn't say anything, just looked at me, waiting. "I've been thinking about the other night," I said. Her face didn't change, but I felt her body shift just slightly. Her breath slowed. I rubbed the back of my neck. If I did something wrong, I'd rather know than guess. I'm not trying to pressure you or anything. I just don't want to be in my head about it. She was quiet for a long time. Then she sat up, pulling the blanket closer around her like she suddenly noticed she was cold. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said softly. "Okay," I said. "Then what is it?" Another pause. A longer one. I watched her eyes flick toward the window, toward the darkened glass. Not like she saw something, more like she was waiting to. Finally, she looked back at me. "You're not the problem," she said. I waited, let the silence hang there. "But something is," I said. She nodded once. Barely. Her voice dropped. "I don't want you to get hurt." There was no drama in the way she said it. No teary-eyed confession. Just a fact. Flat. Simple. I tried to meet her halfway. "I can handle complicated, Brooke." She smiled at that, but it was faint, almost reflexive. "I know," she said. "That's what worries me." She didn't elaborate after that. I waited a minute, thinking maybe there was more coming. But Brooke just stared at her hands, her fingers lightly gripping the edge of the blanket like she was trying not to unravel it. "I've had things in my past," she said finally. "Stuff I'm not proud of. Stuff that doesn't make sense to most people." "That's not a deal breaker," I said. She looked up. "It's not a deal breaker until someone gets close enough to trip over it." Her voice was steady, but there was something under it. Something hollowed out. "Look," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Everyone's got baggage. I mean, mine's mostly in a digital spreadsheet, but still." She smiled, soft and fleeting. "I like being with you," she said. "I feel normal around you. I don't want to lose that by explaining things I can't even explain." I wanted to push, ask what she meant, what exactly she was afraid of. But something about the way she said it made me stop, like she was holding a thread, and if I tugged, the whole thing would come undone. So I didn't. Instead, I nodded. "Okay." She leaned back into me slowly. Her head returned to my shoulder like it had never left. We unpaused the movie and let the sounds of wind and whispered dialogue fill the room. A while later, I must have dozed off. Not all the way. Just that half sleep where you're aware of breathing and body heat and the weight of the blanket shifting slightly. I remember thinking she was so still. Her breathing didn't match mine. It didn't feel like sleep. But I didn't open my eyes. When I woke again, the TV was black, the credits long gone. She was still curled beside me, head on my chest, arms relaxed, her body warm, familiar. But her eyes, they were open, and she wasn't blinking. It was a quiet night, late October, the kind where the wind tapped gently at the windows like it wasn't quite sure it wanted to come in. Brooke had picked the wine, dry red with a label she admitted to liking for the font. We sat on the floor of my living room, back against the couch, the half-empty bottle between us. Our legs touched. Neither of us moved to change that. We'd been laughing, slow, tired laughter. That kind that comes at the end of a long week and a long silence. She looked beautiful like that. Hair loose, cheeks flushed. Less like someone hiding and more like someone finally taking a breath. "I was a weird kid," she said. "Yeah?" She nodded slowly. Not in a tragic way, just out of place. Always had my head in books. I liked empty rooms more than people. I smiled. "And now you make a career out of photographing them." "Pretty much." We sat quietly for a moment, her eyes tracking the swirl of wine in her glass. I finally asked, "You remember the other night? When you pulled away?" She didn't answer right away. "I didn't mean to make you feel like you had to explain," I said. "But I've been thinking about it. And if it's me, if I did something, it's not you," she said. She set the wine down. "I knew this would come up eventually," she said. "And I hate that it has to." She shifted, pulled her knees up against her chest, arms wrapped around them. The warmth we'd built up between us cooled by just a few degrees. "I talk in my sleep," she said. I blinked. "Okay, that's not a huge deal." "No," she said. "It's not just talking. It's worse." She stared at a spot on the floor. Not distant. Focused. Like she could see it happening again. "I say things. Terrible things. In a voice that isn't mine. It sounds wrong. Like something old and angry. Trying to pretend it knows how to use a mouth." The way she said it made the skin on my neck pull tight. I've had it since I was a teenager. It comes and goes. But whenever I get too close to someone, really close, it gets worse. Her voice dropped. "That's why I've never let anyone stay. Not really." I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. "Whatever it is," I said, "we'll deal with it. I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes lifted to mine. Software. Uncertain. "I want to believe you," she said. "But if it happens tonight, don't wake me. Don't talk to me. Just leave the room. It disorients me if I'm woken up like that. And it's worse when someone engages." I nodded. "Okay. I'm serious, Scott. I hear you." She searched my face for another few seconds like she wasn't sure if she should stay. Then she moved forward, kissed me. It started slow, hesitant, like every other time she'd stopped herself. But this time she didn't. Her hand found the back of my neck. Mine found her waist. And something gave way between us. Something that had been held tight for too long. We didn't talk after that. We moved to the bedroom. Clothes shed quietly. No performance, no jokes. Just skin and closeness. And something real. It wasn't urgent or perfect or choreographed. It was human, gentle, honest, needed. After we lay tangled in sheets and silence, her head on my chest, my hand resting lightly over her shoulder. I thought maybe she was asleep when she whispered, "Just don't talk to me if it happens." "I won't," I said. And a few minutes later, we both drifted off. The bedroom was quiet, but not the kind of quiet that made you feel rested. It had that thick, padded stillness, like sound was waiting for permission to return. Brooke lay beside me, facing the wall. Her back was warm against my chest. The sheets had twisted between us a little, but neither of us moved to fix it. Outside, the city had gone soft, Just a few distant engines, some wind flicking the gutters. Somewhere a light buzzed faintly, like electricity had forgotten how to settle. She hadn't spoken in a while, not since the lights went out. I thought she was asleep. Then I felt her fingers brush against mine. "If it happens," she said, voice almost too quiet to hear, "don't touch me." I opened my eyes. She didn't turn around. "Don't speak to me. Don't say my name. Don't try to help." I waited a beat before answering. "Okay. I'll come out of it on my own. But if you wake me, I get disoriented. It doesn't like that." It. The word felt like a stone dropped into still water. "All right," I said. "You don't have to worry. I'll go to the couch if anything starts. Just say the word." She nodded once. I could feel it in the motion of her shoulder. A few minutes passed. Her breathing slowed, evened out. I watched the rise and fall of her back until my own eyes got heavy. Eventually, I let go. And somewhere between one breath and the next, I fell asleep. I woke up with the sensation that someone was inches from my face. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a feeling. It was a fact. I opened my eyes slowly, heart already racing. The room was heavy, like the air had thickened. And she was there. Brooke was standing over me. Her face hovered just above mine, head tilted slightly to one side, dark hair hanging forward, unmoving. Her arms dangled at her sides, hands loose, fingers twitching once, then still. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. And something inside me recognized immediately. This wasn't Brooke. Then the voice came. Calm, controlled, not shouted, not hissed, just spoken, with obscene clarity.
"I will peel your skin back layer by layer. As you scream in agony, I will tear out your muscles from your flesh, soaking the room with your blood. As you scream, I will rip your jaw from your face slowly, so you know that I mean it. I will reach down your open throat and pull your guts and heart out altogether. When I am done, hellhounds will feast on your decrepit flesh, saving your tongue and bones for last. Only the hosts in hell will hear you and celebrate your destruction."
I couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. She turned, slowly, like she was being rotated on an invisible track. She walked around the bed, unblinking, barefoot, and crawled under the blanket on her side. Laid down, faced away from me, like nothing had happened. A long, terrible silence followed. Then the voice returned, same mouth, different tone. It almost mocked concern.
"Run, Scott, you little rabbit. Run while I still allow you to. Run before I change my mind."
I could hear the smile in it.
"She is mine, and will never be yours. You might have defiled her body,
The next pause was worse than the words.
but I've defiled her body and her soul."
Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. I stayed in that bed, frozen in place, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe like she always did. Only now, I didn't know who was breathing with me. I made it to the couch on autopilot. Barefoot, shaky, sweating cold. The blanket I grabbed felt useless, like trying to armor myself with tissue paper. I curled into the corner like a child, like hiding in plain sight might mean something. The apartment was dead silent. I waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I was starting to convince myself it was over, that maybe she'd wake up in the morning and laugh and we'd both pretend it was just a bad dream. Then I saw them. 2 faint orbs in the dark hallway, low to the ground, glowing, staring at me. They didn't blink. They didn't move. Just watched. Then, without a sound, they vanished. And the voice came crawling out of the dark.
"Scott."
My stomach nodded.
Scott.
It was soft, patient, like it had all the time in the world.
I think about that day,
It whispered.
the day Emma died.
I pressed my back harder into the cushions.
She let you have the front seat. You were 12. You whine. She gave in. That's what big sisters do.
The breath in my chest turned to stone.
And then the truck hit. Do you remember the smell? Hot vinyl, gasoline, your piss soaking through your jeans while your mother screamed into the steering wheel?
Stop.
You didn't even look at her at first, did you? Too scared. You stared at the dashboard. Then you turned.
I started to cry silently.
Her head was twisted halfway around. Her jaw split. Her eyes had popped out of the sockets. Her neck snapped in half beside you. Blood everywhere. You remember that part, right? How they just hung there?
I shook my head over and over like it might unspool the memory.
You stared at her, frozen, while your mother sobbed like an animal. And you
A pause.
cried while the paramedics peeled her off the seat. You wet yourself again in the ambulance.
I let out a strangled sound. Not a word, just air.
And now,
The voice said. Softer. Closer somehow.
she's beautiful in her coffin.
It lingered.
You ever think about how she smells now?
I pressed my palms to my ears.
Rotting meat, wet cotton, the scent of skin separating from bone, maggots crawling over her cheeks, through her lips, burrowing into the soft meat inside her skull. Feeding.
I sobbed once, sharp and involuntary.
They ate her eyes first.
It said.
You dream about her sometimes, don't you? Standing at the edge of your bed, trying to talk. But she can't. Because you're the reason she's missing her jaw.
I wanted to scream, but it wouldn't come out. Then, silence. But it wasn't done.
Let's talk about you. Remember the pills?
My entire body tensed.
Try again. Use a rope this time. Or a knife. Or the tub. Doesn't matter. You almost did it once. Bathroom mirror. Mouthful of pills. Remember how you cried? You pathetic little coward. You didn't even swallow.
I stared at the floor, dizzy. My jaw clenched. My teeth hurt.
You couldn't even do that.
I whispered, "Shut up."
No one would have missed you.
Tears slid down my face in silence.
You're not here because you're strong. You're here because you're a coward.
The scratching began. Overhead. Not footsteps, not pacing, crawling, slow, deliberate. I looked up, and there she was. Brooke. No, not Brooke. Sprawled across the ceiling. Hands and feet splayed backward, knees bent wrong, hips twisted. Her head dangled upside down between her arms, hair hanging like vines. She was smiling.
If you don't sleep in the bathtub,
The voice said through her mouth.
you'll be dead by morning.
The smile widened. Her teeth looked sharp, that of a predator.
Go ahead. Run.
She clicked her teeth once, sharp and loud.
Run, Scott, you little rabbit.
Her head rotated, vertebrae cracking.
Mercy is for the weak, Scott. Weak pieces of shit like you.
And then, one final whisper.
Don't decide to be brave now, Scott, or I will devour you, bones and all, and no one will care.
A pause.
But I will defile your soul first.
She disappeared into the hallway. I didn't breathe again until I was locked in the bathroom, curled into the bathtub, arms around my knees, staring at the door. I stayed that way until dawn. The morning light came in without apology. It bled through the blinds in long gold fingers, cutting lines across the tile walls. I opened my eyes and stared up at the bathroom ceiling, not remembering where I was for a second. until my back reminded me. I was in the tub, still curled into myself, still wrapped in the towel I'd pulled off the rack, but still alive. My arms had fallen asleep. My mouth was dry. My heartbeat sounded distant, like it had migrated somewhere else. I sat up slowly. The bathroom was quiet. Nothing moved. No scratching. No voice. No shadow waiting in the doorway. Just morning. I stood and stretched, bones cracking, and turned on the sink to splash water on my face. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Hollow-eyed, pale, one side of my face creased from the curve of the tub. And then the memory landed again. Not like a flashback, more like gravity. The voice, the ceiling, the things it said. Emma. I almost threw up. I gripped the sink, knuckles white, and waited until the nausea passed. Then I opened the door and stepped out into the hall. No sound. The apartment smelled like sleep and faint wine, the kind of smell that usually meant a good night. It made me want to scream. I walked down the hall. The bedroom door was still cracked open. My hand hovered near it, not touching, just listening. Nothing. I nudged it open. She was there, in bed, on her side, facing away from me. Still, breathing soft and even. One arm folded under her head, the covers tucked up to her shoulder. Just Brooke. Not the thing from the night before. Not the voice. Not the crawling. I stepped into the room and stood at the edge of the bed. My pulse was steady now, but the back of my neck tingled. She shifted slightly, then turned her head and looked at me. Eyes normal, face soft. She smiled, sleep warm. "Hey," she said, voice raspy. "Did I hog the blanket or something?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, because suddenly I didn't know if I was looking at the woman I was falling for, or the thing that regaled to me about the 2 worst days of my life. She sat up slowly, brushing her hair back, blinking against the light. I didn't sit down. I stayed standing near the door. "Scott," she said, "you okay? You look..." Her voice trailed off. I took a step back, not away from her, just to stay steady. "You don't remember anything," I said. It wasn't a question. She tilted her head slightly. Something in her softened, like a mask lowering, like she already knew where this was going. I swallowed. "You stood over me last night. You weren't awake. Or maybe you were. I don't know. But you said things." Her face didn't move. Not a twitch. Just stillness. "You said you were going to peel my skin off, tear out my jaw, rip my heart out through my throat." Nothing. "You said I pissed myself when Emma died, that her eyes came out of her skull, that she's rotting in the ground, that her face is full of maggots." Her eyes lowered. Barely. "You said I should have taken the pills." That was the one that cracked her. Her hand came up to her mouth like she could physically stop whatever was rising. She didn't ask what pills. She didn't ask who's Emma. She just let out a sound, quiet, ragged, and her shoulders started to shake. She turned away from me, hunched over, arms wrapped tight around her stomach. Not dramatic, not performative, just wrecked. And still she hadn't said a word. I stood there, gripping the edge of the doorframe until my fingers ached. "Brooke," I said gently. "I didn't want this," she said finally. Her voice was small, almost childlike. "I thought maybe this time, maybe it would be different." She looked up at me and her eyes were glassy with tears, but dry, like she was used to running out of them. "I'm so sorry." It wasn't panic. It wasn't surprise. It was grief, like she'd been waiting for this moment all along. "It started killing people when I was 17. Her voice wasn't panicked. It wasn't dramatic. It just was. She sat at the edge of the bed like she was too tired to lie anymore. Her shoulders slumped forward, hair in her face, hands limp in her lap. My first boyfriend was Marcus. We were together junior and senior year. He was sweet. He brought me my favorite gum, made dumb playlists, walked me to class every day even when it rained. She let the silence sit before continuing. We waited, took things slow. But when it finally happened, she looked up, just briefly. Her expression was already empty. The next day, his car went off the road, lost control on a curve. They said it should have been survivable. The crash itself wasn't that bad. Her mouth tightened. But a tree branch came through the passenger side window. It went straight through his skull, killed him on impact. My stomach turned. Brooke didn't blink. After that, I shut down for a while. But in college, I tried again. She ran a hand over her face like she could erase what she was about to say. His name was Dylan. Quiet. Thoughtful. He had this stupid habit of humming while he studied. A long pause. We were together for almost a semester before I let it happen again. I kept telling myself it had just been a coincidence, that I was paranoid, traumatized, overreacting. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. When she finally found her voice, it was flat. The next day, he didn't show up for class. His roommate found him unresponsive. No drugs, no injury, nothing. She exhaled through her nose. He died 6 days later. Never woke up. I didn't speak, didn't ask questions. I just let her keep going. Then came Greg. We met through mutual friends. Casual at first. But she looked at the floor. It happened one night. We were at my place. Nothing dramatic. Just a movie, a bottle of wine. One of those quiet nights that actually feels good. Her voice dropped. He left around 2 a.m. The next morning, he fell down the stairwell in the parking garage under my building. Security cameras caught it. No one was with him. When he approached the top of the stairs to descend them, it looked like he was pushed from behind. He stumbled. He fell face first down the cement stairs, breaking his neck. He wasn't discovered until 8 a.m., later that morning. A cold pressure pressed behind my eyes. And the last one was Gordon. Her eyes closed. Her body seemed to fold in on itself. I stayed the night at his place. First time I'd slept over anywhere in years. We had dinner, laughed about a stupid show, fell asleep with our legs tangled together. Her next words came out like splinters. 3 hours later, he fell out of the window of his 7th floor apartment. No note, no sign of anything. She looked up at me again, and this time, I saw it. The grief, the guilt, the rage she had no place to put. I don't know if it waits, or watches, or just knows, but every time I let someone get close, truly close, it takes them. Her voice broke on the next line. I thought maybe it was gone. I'd been alone for so long. I thought maybe I could have something normal again. She wiped at her eyes, but there weren't any tears. I was wrong, Scott. She took a shaky breath. I let you in, and now it's awake again. I have to go. She said it again, softer now, but it hit harder. She looked like she wanted to sink into the floor, to disappear before it got any closer. Her hands were shaking. I stepped forward. Brooke, tell me what else I need to know. Her eyes met mine. Quiet. Heavy. Then she said it. It won't tell me its name. The air in the room felt heavier. It talks to me sometimes. In dreams. In fragments. Sometimes when I'm half asleep, I'll hear it whispering, saying things in my own voice, or in someone else's, but it never tells me its name. She took a shaky breath. That's how I know it wants me alive. That stopped me cold. What do you mean? I asked. If it wanted me dead, she said, it would have told me. I stared at her. She gave a weak smile. In every book, every movie, knowing the name is the key, right? The old rules. If you can name it, you have power over it. Maybe. Maybe not. But it knows that. It's smart. It knows if it ever slips, if it ever tells me what it is, I might try. To fight back? I asked. She nodded. Or at least to break free. She looked toward the door, like she was already halfway gone. I've never told anyone that. Not the therapists, not the doctors. It sounds insane. I know how it sounds. She turned back to me. But I needed you to know it's real. And then her voice broke just a little. It's so real, Scott. I couldn't stop the words. You knew things, I said. Last night. Things you couldn't have known. Her face shifted, just slightly. You talked about Emma, my sister, how she died, what I saw. You knew things I haven't said out loud in years. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. You told me to kill myself, I said. You knew I almost did. Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. I never told anyone about that, I whispered. I know, she said. That's how it works. It digs into you, finds the part of you that's still raw, still healing, and it puts its hands inside. I didn't know if I was trembling or if the room was. She stepped toward me. I don't want to be the reason you die. Then don't leave, I said. She shook her head. It's already in you, Scott. That's what I saw this morning. In your face. It's inside you now. And the longer I stay here, the deeper it'll root. I wanted to grab her, not to stop her, just to keep her real. But I didn't. I care about you too much to let you become part of its game. She looked away, then back. If I stay, it'll destroy you. If I leave, maybe it lets go. Maybe it doesn't. She reached for the doorknob. I just know what happens when I stay. The door opened, and she was gone. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. No calls, no texts. Not even one of those awkward, guilt-shaped messages you send when you're too ashamed to say the real thing. Just silence. I checked her Instagram. Last post was from a week before she left. A photo of an alley at twilight. Faint red light. A shadow that didn't match anything in frame. I sent her a message the morning after she walked out. Are you safe? She didn't read it. The next day, I sent another. Did it follow you? Still unread. That night I heard something move in my kitchen. Just a single sound. A glass shifting in the cabinet. I got up. Nothing was out of place. The night after that, I turned off the living room lights and walked toward my bedroom, only for them to flicker back on behind me. The hallway light clicked by itself at 3:07 a.m. Always 3:07. I stopped sleeping. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. No lights, no sounds, no whispers, not even dreams. Nothing. And that scared me more than the rest of it. It was like whatever had brushed against me had now stepped away. But not because it was gone. Because it had decided something. On the 5th day, I came home from work, dropped my bag, made tea, stared at my phone, scrolled through messages I would never send. Then, just as the water started to boil, there was a knock at the door. Soft, steady, 2 beats. I froze, waited. Another knock. I walked to the door slowly. Every step felt wrong. Heavy. Like I was descending into something. I looked through the peephole. It was her. Brooke. standing in the hallway, a small smile on her face. I opened the door. She stood there, head slightly bowed, one hand clutching her opposite elbow like she wasn't sure what kind of reception she deserved. Brooke, in a navy sweater and jeans, hair braided over one shoulder, face clean, soft, real. "Hey," she said. I didn't move, just looked at her, took in the tired eyes, the hesitant smile, the way her body held just a little tension. She glanced past me into the apartment. I know this is probably weird. I didn't like how we left it." I blinked. "I don't want to pretend like none of it happened," she said quickly, her voice catching a little. I thought maybe we could talk, just for a minute. I don't want things to end that way." That made sense to me. Too much had happened. Too much had been said. I stepped aside. She walked in with small, careful movements. She didn't look around like a ghost returning to the scene. She looked like someone walking into a room full of unspoken feelings. When she sat on the couch, she smoothed her hands over her thighs and let out a quiet, nervous breath. "Is it okay that I'm here?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "It's okay." She nodded. "I'm not trying to undo anything," she said. "I just didn't want it to end cold. You've been kind to me. I wanted to show you that mattered." I sat down across from her, leaning on my knees. "I could use a drink," she added with a shaky smile. "Something with bubbles." That almost made me laugh. I brought her a soda and opened one for myself. We sat for a minute in silence, sipping. It wasn't tense. It was just careful. "I missed you," she said eventually. Her voice was quiet, honest, and I believed her, because it felt real, all of it. And for the first time in days, I felt something that looked dangerously close to hope. We talked for a while, about nothing at first, how cold it had gotten, whether she missed the Midwest, the coffee shop she found near her new place that still made pour-over like it was a religion. She looked at me when she spoke, really looked. Her eyes locked to mine the way they used to. Not evasive, not empty, present. That felt good. At one point I said something stupid, about how I'd nearly burned the apartment down trying to make microwave ramen at 2 a.m. And she laughed, genuinely. She even covered her mouth and tilted her head back like she used to when she laughed too hard. It felt real. It felt safe. Eventually, her body leaned just a little toward mine. Barely. Her shoulder brushed against mine like she forgot where the line was and didn't care. Then she turned toward me on the couch, her legs folded beneath her. Her smile didn't fade. She looked down at my hand, resting on my thigh. Her fingers touched mine, just lightly, traced the edge of a knuckle. Then she looked up into my eyes again. "You always think too much," she said, almost playfully. My breath hitched, not from fear, just from how close she was, how easy it would be to lean forward and kiss her. She leaned forward instead. She placed one hand on my chest, not firm, not flirtatious, just there, steady, warm, right over my heart. Her eyes held mine, and then she climbed onto me, straddled my lap, slowly, carefully, like she was afraid I might flinch or stop her. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because I didn't understand what was happening yet. Her weight settled onto my thighs. Her hands rested on either side of my face, and for the briefest, most fragile second, I felt her lean in to kiss me. Then she stopped, her breath hitting my face. A rancid, rotten smell. She leaned back and looked me in my eyes. Something flickered in her eyes, like a curtain shifting behind glass. Too fast to register, too slow to ignore. And then she tightened her grip, fingers locking under my jaw, pinning me. Her body didn't move, but suddenly, it was heavy. Not just her weight, something else. Like gravity thickened around her. Her smile never changed, but her voice did.
I heard you were asking about me.
I froze. Not because of the words, because of the voice. It wasn't hers. It was low, calm, almost amused, like someone telling a secret that only they find funny. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her head tilted slightly, that smile still stretching her lips, not wider, just longer. Her eyes fully black, unblinking.
You've been very curious, Scott.
Her fingers traced down the sides of my face. One thumb dragged softly across my lower lip.
Brooke has such a vivid imagination, doesn't she? Thinking a name would protect her. Give her the key to her freedom. Silly, stupid girl.
I tried to move. Her hands locked tighter around my face. Her thighs pressed into mine. I couldn't shift an inch.
She thought names gave power.
The voice continued gently.
Because that's what stories told you. What your stupid ghost-hunting television shows spew into your minds. Because that's what humans like you need to believe. Humans who think they know the rules. For things they know nothing about.
I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't.
Let me correct her.
The grin deepened, not in shape, in intent.
Knowing my name doesn't protect you.
The voice dropped to a whisper now, but not quieter. Closer. Inside me. Behind my ears.
It marks you.
My pulse thudded so loud I thought I might pass out.
It's not a shield. It's a signature.
Then her head leaned in until her lips brushed the edge of my ear.
And once you say it,
A pause.
you're mine.
Its hands cradled my face like a secret. I wanted to move. I couldn't. I wasn't frozen by fear. I was held. Bound. Like the air around me had solidified. Her smile was still there, warm and easy. But her voice was not.
I should thank you.
It whispered.
You lasted longer than the others. That made things a bit interesting.
Her hands were too still, her posture too exact.
They were swine.
It said gently.
All of them. Grunting, needy, filthy animals. Thinking they could lay hands on what wasn't theirs.
A breath against my cheek.
They touched her. So they died.
The voice dropped lower, slick and smug.
I fed my name into their head when they were weak. During sleep. During sex. In dreams. In breaths.
A slight smile.
They never knew. But I did. I waited.
It tilted her head slightly, amused.
And eventually, that name slipped from their lips.
A beat of silence.
And I claimed what they owed me.
Its grip on my jaw firmed, and I felt the weight of the moment like thunder pressing in from inside my skull.
You touched her too, Scott.
It leaned in closer, almost savoring it.
And now it's your turn.
Then, slowly, agonizingly slow, it lowered its mouth to my ear. Its lips hovered there, and then it whispered its name. I won't repeat it. I won't even spell it. The instant I heard it, I felt something cold and sharp push into my ear, like an insect crawling beneath the skin, but deeper, like it burrowed into my brain. The pain wasn't sharp. It was icy, hollowing, invasive. I gasped, but no sound came, and all I could hear was the laugh, that hideous guttural laugh spilling out of Brooke's throat, deep and gurgling, like water running through broken pipes. Her face didn't twist. She just smiled as her throat howled. And then, blackness. I woke up on the floor, flat on my back, cold. The apartment was dark. The front door was wide open. She was gone, and I knew. Nothing would ever be right again. because the name was still there, crawling behind my eyes, waiting for me to say it. And one day, I will. Because everyone does. The name never left. It pulsed behind my eyes, behind my thoughts, sometimes soft, like a hum through a wall, sometimes sharper, like it was scratching the inside of my skull with a nail. It didn't shout. It didn't scream. It waited. I stopped leaving the apartment, lost track of meals. My fridge hummed like it was whispering. I unplugged it. It kept humming. At night, the voice came back. Sometimes in Brooke's voice, sometimes my mother's, once in my own. I stopped answering calls. I don't know how many days passed. I caught myself mouthing the name once. No sound, just lips moving. I bit my tongue until it bled. I found a scrap of paper with the name written on it in my handwriting. I burned it in the kitchen sink. The mirrors were the worst. Sometimes they lagged, just by a breath, just enough to notice. Once I blinked, and the reflection didn't. I stopped turning on lights in the bathroom, but it found other ways. One night I heard it whisper my name from the hallway, over and over. I opened the bathroom door to silence. No one there, just steam clinging to the mirror. On the glass, written in reverse, was the first letter of its name. I wiped it away. My hand was shaking. I didn't know why I was going there. I didn't even put on real shoes, just grabbed my keys and left. The building looked the same. Brooke's door, 3C, was exactly where it had always been. Nothing strange, nothing broken, but it felt abandoned. I knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. Waited longer. Still nothing. No movement behind the door. No sound. Just a soft, dead kind of silence. Then I heard the stairwell door creak open. A woman appeared. Mid-20s, maybe younger. Running gear. Phone in hand. A little flushed from the cold and whatever route she'd just jogged. She paused when she saw me. "You looking for Brooke?" "Yeah," I said. She jogged in place briefly, catching her breath. "She moved out a couple days ago." I stared at her. "Moved out?" "Yep. Big van, couple movers." She didn't say much, just smiled, said she was heading out. Quiet girl. Seemed really sweet. I tried to smile. Failed. She didn't mention where. The woman shook her head. "Nope. Just packed up and left. That's all I know." She gave a small, sympathetic shrug and headed to her door. I stood alone again. Her apartment door didn't look any different. That's what scared me. I walked back to my car, closed the door, stared at the steering wheel like it might start moving on its own. Then the laughter started. Not from me, from it. Just laughter. Soft at first, then rising. A mocking, knowing sound, coming from somewhere no human voice should ever reach. It didn't echo in the air. It echoed inside me. It wasn't Brooke, and it wasn't me. It came from where only evil dwells. And it knew. I don't know who's going to hear this. I don't care if you believe me. I just need it on record. Please heed my warning. Do not let your curiosity lead you to your destruction. Do not seek its name. Do not attempt to find out more about it. And if God forbid you stumble upon his name, for your sake, don't say it. Don't think it. Even thinking it too clearly, it pulls something open. Like it can hear you back. It's not like the movies. It doesn't need you to believe. It just needs attention. If you know me, if you're listening because you cared, please don't try to help. Please don't look for me. Whatever I am by the time you find this, it won't be me anymore. I'm fighting. I'm still fighting. Every second I keep my mouth shut is a war, but it's always there. I'll be doing nothing, and suddenly it's in my breath, in my throat, just waiting for me to let it go. And sometimes I think I already did. In a dream. Or, was that real? Sorry, I can't. What was I saying? I had it a second ago. Right. If you hear this, if you're still listening. I'm in my apartment. The lights are off now. I didn't turn them off. Or maybe I did. It's so quiet. I can't remember what day it is. I wrote something down. I think I said it in my sleep. I think I said it already. I think it's coming. Or maybe it's already here. Maybe it's... Sorry. What was I saying? I don't know. I can't say his name. My God. It's hurting my brain. If I say it, the pain will stop. Wait. Will it? No. I can't. What was the name? I can't remember now. Wait. I can hear it. Can you hear it? Can you? Yes. Ozmurak.